On today's All-NBA show, we're talking real hoops. We're going to be talking about dream playoff matchups we hope we get to see, and I think we are going to see a couple of these. We're going to go to the waiver wire to pick up midseason our guys, and then our guys redraft here midseason, and then we're going to talk about play-in teams. Is there anybody that can make a deep playoff run coming through the play-in? Leg seems to think yes. I think no. We'll debate that on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, who took the week off All-Star break and is fully rejuvenated, refreshed, and ready for the back half of the season. How you doing, Legs?
I'm great, man. I can't wait. Honestly, that's a good point. I mean, it's good to get the break for everybody. I think if you're not associated with the All-Star weekend, most people now use that as a good time to recharge, and it's well past the halfway point. So really now you come out of the break and it's everything just matters more. Every night you expect more guys to be available, intensity to be there, and it's a push. It's a push now for seeding. It's a push for teams trying to get into the play-in. It's a push for teams trying to get out of the play-in and get into the top six, and it all starts right away Thursday night.
I love it, man. It is nice, man. Just being, obviously we're not players. You no longer, me never, but we're not players. But it's still nice to get this break, just to get away from it and kind of get your energy back. And I'm excited to be back because, to your point, it picks up tomorrow, and I feel like it's the most interesting portion of the season where things get real. And so if you're looking for All-Star recap breakdown, go to any other pod because that's where you're going to get that. Every other pod has been doing, dissecting the All-Star game and dunk contest and all that stuff. We gave you great shows on Friday talking about title contenders. We gave you a great show on Monday talking about most interesting players. So we've been talking about real hoops, and we're going to continue to talk about real hoops today as we get into the nitty-gritty. I'll ask you real quick, though, Legs, did you catch the All-Star game? Or is this off your radars? You have other bigger fish to fry?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had it on, and then I went and watched a lot of the recaps of it rather than, dedicate that time live to watch it.
You didn't break down the film?
I did catch most of it, yeah. Just because, listen, we know what the narrative around it had been for years and years. And look, by the way, this goes back further than a lot of people think. I remember watching the All-Star game when I was a kid and then watching it when I was in like high school, college. And I do think there was more intensity then. But then, I got into the league and I participated in a couple of All-Star weekends. And I, as a result, went to the game on Sunday. I wasn't an All-Star, but I was involved in Saturday night competitions. And so I went to the game Sundays, and even then, like sitting there, this is mid-90s and, kind of thinking like, oh, it'd be great if, we could get this level of talent on the floor for something like this and then playing as hard as they can. I understand it's unrealistic. So this isn't some new phenomenon. Like, it's been going on for a long time. And as a result, I was kind of like, okay, let me just see how it goes. And I'm going to catch the narrative around it after the fact and see what people have to say. And then I'll go watch it if I feel like it's worth watching. And that's basically what I did, because it seems like the narrative around it going in like Sunday night when it was over was, man, that was pretty entertaining. They played harder. It seemed like it mattered a little bit more. And that's all people were craving for. And I think they filled that bill. And so as a result, yes, I went back and I was able to watch the stuff that you needed to see to kind of have a good idea what went on. But first I wanted to see, was it going to be any different? New format, a lot of emphasis placed on, just the push to try to get guys to play harder. Even some comments from players that are associated with the game, I think all of that stuff led up to, let's see what this is going to be. And I think for the most part, I think they pulled it off. It was better than it's been, put it that way.
I give Anthony Edwards a lot of credit on this and Victor Wembanyama, because I think the World versus USA format led to some narrative buildup going into it. But I think what really happened was Victor Wembanyama came out and played hard. I mean, he took like the first 6 shots of the game, or, at least it felt that way. And you could tell he was taking it serious. And I just felt like it woke everybody up. Well, almost everybody up. Luka and my guy, Nikola Jokic. Those guys said no thank you, which disappointed me. But everybody else I thought raised their level of intensity, and it actually made for something fun. So I give all those guys credit. The gimmicks, in my opinion, they can do so much. Not that much, but they can do so much. Guys have to care. And I thought Wemby coming out hard made guys care, and everybody played with pride, and it actually made for some pretty entertaining hoops to watch. Shout out Kawhi Leonard too, man. That guy when he's on fire, he is fun to watch.
Shout out to Kawhi, and also want to give one more shout out from Saturday night. Give a shout out to Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
3-time winner now. He's got such a perfect shooting motion for that competition. It's so short and compact, and he doesn't jump much. And it's just picture perfect every time. So that's elite, rare company for him. For me, and this is not just because I was in it and I was a shooter. It's always been for me, like the best part of the weekend is watching the 3-point shootout. There's always a lot of drama associated with it. And, it's the one thing where you go, okay, these are Curry obviously wasn't in it this year, so because he was hurt, but he's talking about coming back next year. But, you want to put on a show. This is the best shooters on the planet. Let's see what you got. And when the Knights win, it's good. And Damian Lillard, lit it up. I give him a lot of credit for that, and give credit to the league for coming up with a different idea for Sunday. They needed to do something to inject something that would create more interest. And you're right. I mean, the bottom line is this: when it comes to All-Star games, it only really piques interest if you notice a difference in how much guys seem to care about who wins and loses.
Yep, totally.
That was there, I think, this weekend. So give the league credit, give the players credit. At least for a year, it definitely had an uptick and a resurgence, I think, for people's interest.
Well, let's move on to some quick hitters here, that news and notes. The first one, not very surprising, but Shams Charania did announce today that Kyrie Irving is indeed shutting it down for the year. There was some conversation about maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. With the way the Dallas Mavericks season has gone, I think it was a lock for him to sit it out. But now it's official. He's sitting out. Your thoughts for him not making the return this season and focusing instead on next year?
I totally agree with the decision because, they lost 8 straight going into the All-Star break. At one point, they were playing so hard. They were playing so hard defensively, and Cooper Flagg was on this incredible role, but they weren't winning games. And, once you make the decision to trade Anthony Davis, you're looking at this and what this really is, and it's all about the future. And you've now kind of reset the entire organization around Cooper Flagg because he's that good. It's a generational type player, and that's the direction they're going to go in. So what's the point of rushing Kyrie Irving back to get 20 games in or 15 games or whatever it may be at the end of the year? He's going to be able to replicate those type of runs over the summer and get that feel for playing in contact, playing in traffic, all of the stuff mentally that you've got to get out of your system. He'll have plenty of time to do that over the summer. And then come training camp, Kyrie Irving should be good to go. And now you're pairing him with a player that has just completely taken off here as a rookie over the last couple of months. And who knows what this guy's ceiling ultimately could be. So make sure you have Kyrie Irving fresh and preserved when you need him, and you want to be more competitive. So I totally agree with it. Saw it coming after the Anthony Davis trade for sure. But now the organization has made it official.
Is there any argument to be made that there's something you could have gained out of giving just a handful of games of Kyrie and Cooper Flagg working together?
Yeah, listen, I think if what I just said probably would be the biggest reason is I just know, and having experience with it and just tracking guys that have dealt with it, when you come back from this type of injury, you have to get a certain amount of contact and jumping and landing around people out of your system, because you never forget what it felt like when you did it. You don't forget that. And it's still very fresh in your mind. And it's the last thing you ever want to experience again. So you're not really playing with just reckless abandon, and you're not just playing free of mind. You are thinking too much. So there is a period of time where you have to get that out of your system. That would be the greatest argument to let him do it. I think to your point about chemistry with he and Cooper Flagg, I don't think that's as important, because you're going to get a handful of games in and then boom, you hit a 4-month, break anyway.
Right.
And you're going to, and you're going to have to figure it out next year. They'll have plenty of time to do that late summer into the early fall, into camp by the time the season starts. I think the one benefit could have been, hey, just get those first 15, 20 games under my belt where I realize that I'm not going to hurt myself again, because that's a very difficult thing psychologically to overcome.
I think Kyrie is in a different place mentally than most, even among athletes who are mentally tough to begin with. But to your point, I remember watching Jamal Murray when he went out to his ACL injury in March of 2021 and did not come back until the following start of camp. And you think, okay, he maybe could have come back in March or April the following year. He didn't. He set it down. So maybe he'll come into camp ready. But still, there's a difference to live game reps, and it still took him 2 or 3 months of regular season action, even in the fall and into the winter, for him to get that under him. And I think that's kind of the point you're making, that it's just so hard mentally to get used to throwing your body around the way it requires to go at full speed, that even if you were to come back now, there's still a ramp up period. And so I wonder how much Kyrie will deal with that. Like I said, he's a mentally tough guy, but even coming into the season next year, I still imagine that'll be an adjustment period.
No, it will be. And the other thing is, Adam, you think about when you come back from the injury at first, initially, you're wearing a brace. And some guys, it's funny. I think about the brace I wore when I came back. I tore 3 ligaments. So it was a serious, devastating, career-threatening injury, they told me at the time. I came back from the injury. I had this big, heavy, bulky brace on. It was really a nightmare because I was actually hurting my own teammates in practice when I would fight through a screen, and that brace would catch somebody's knee, and you see guys grab their leg, and you're feeling guilty about that, but you had to wear it to compete. And I remember I wore it for I don't even know how many games or months I wore it, but I remember I had a really bad shooting game at home. I was playing in Washington, and I just really good looks that I just make with my eyes closed, and I missed them all because my lift wasn't the same. I was thinking too much. And I remember I went into the locker room, I took the brace off my leg and I threw it as hard as I could against the wall. And I saw like screws fly out of it and stuff. It was like ruined. And I basically went to a neoprene sleeve for the next game. And I wore a neoprene sleeve for pretty much the rest of my career. So like even a guy like Kyrie, he might not ever wear a brace, particularly if he doesn't play in NBA games this year. Over the summer, he'll have a sleeve on, but at some point, you're going to, or maybe it is a light brace, you're going to get used to not having that security blanket there. And it's just, that's when you really feel vulnerable again. And that's a period of time that you've got to get through it. Everybody that's ever had it, you're going to go through it. Everybody's a different time frame, but he's going to go through it too. So whether you get those games in now at the end of the year in meaningless games for Dallas, or you get them over the summer in some pickup games or simulated runs with your practice facility, or next fall in preseason, he's going to go through it just like everybody else.
Another piece of news here from last week we didn't get a chance to get to was that the Utah Jazz got fined $500,000 for tanking. And this was an egregious tank. They were up in a game and they just basically shut down their starters, their key guys. They were up big and ended up blowing the lead late. I mean, everybody knows tanking has been a big topic here lately. Adam Silver, I think, had a bit of a chaos he had to deal with. He had to do something. A $500,000 fine is a big fine. I know these guys are billionaires, but that's like not a small slap on the wrist. That's a meaningful one, to where if you're a team that is thinking about doing the obvious tanking, now you have to be a lot more at least subtle about it. Do you think this will have an impact? Because there's a lot of teams that we look at. I mean, tomorrow night there's Indiana versus Washington. Both of those teams are in tankathon mode right now. Maybe this makes it a little harder to tank, and you have to disguise it a little better, which means you won't tank as obviously or as forcefully as you were before.
Yeah, look, I think that it's clear, they wanted a message to be sent. Message was sent. I do think it'll have an impact. I just think listen, we all know there are teams that you get to a point in the season and you realize, you're positioning yourself to have the best summer you can in terms of draft capital. And it's not a secret. And there's a number of teams that fall into that category every single year. So I guess if that's going to be the intent of an organization, it's going to have to be disguised better. It's going to have to be gone about in a different way, certainly than Utah did on that given night. And I think that's it. I mean, you want a message sent. You want people to understand that the league is looking hard at this, and there will be repercussions, financial repercussions, big ones, if this is going to be something that you're just blatantly, trying to pull off. So there are teams that are always going to fall into that category. Let's see what their approach is going to be, because the league clearly wanted to pound the gavel, and the Utah Jazz were the ones, because of the nature in which they went about it. The league wanted to do it now, knowing we're heading into that time of the year where it could become more prevalent for some teams.
Last one I have for you here, Legs, a bit of a fun one. And I want to be careful here because it's fun to talk, shoot from the hip on the timeline if you're just on Twitter or whatever. But we want to be careful because this is like an unsubstantiated report, although it seems like it's pretty obvious that a high-profile player, an all-star player, was caught with a burner account in a group chat and over the weekend. And in that group chat was allegedly talking trash about current teammates and former teammates and some pretty pointed stuff. Now, I'm not going to say who it was because, like I said, it was unsubstantiated. Everybody knows already who it is, so I don't even need to say it. But my question to you is, you and I both, we were lucky that we came up before the social media era where everything can get leaked at any moment. I mean, these guys have to live in such hell being famous people where your lives are like digitally recorded online. But did you ever have a period where a teammate was caught talking trash about another teammate? And just what does that do to a locker room? Because I imagine if I'm the teammate and I see some of these text messages come through and say, he said that about me behind closed doors, that would completely break any chemistry or trust I had with that person.
Yeah, look, it did go on. Obviously, now I can't imagine. I mean, listen, a lot of careers were saved by not having access to cell phones and social media to the extent that we do now. You're right, man. Like, I can't imagine how hard it is for players to just go live their lives without like every single thing potentially being recorded or, leaving a digital footprint in every way imaginable. They just want to go live, man, enjoy their lives. It's hard. So we didn't have to deal with that. But certainly there were issues that would occur between teammates for different reasons. And, I think I recall a conversation being recorded by someone in which a teammate was talking trash about another teammate. And then that led to an actual physical altercation between the two teammates. So you think about the trouble that someone would have to go to back then, like to physically record the conversation. It's like your interrogation. You got a tape recorder attached to the phone. Like now, it's just everybody's got one of these right here, right? Yeah. Everybody's got one of these right in front of them, and it can do a lot of damage. It can do a lot of good. Nobody in my era really had to deal with that. So you had to go about it a different way. And listen, when it happens, I will say this. It's amazing how quickly NBA players, I'm sure NFL same way, hockey, baseball, you get past it pretty quickly. Like really? It happened. Somebody was talking. They physically had it out. And you know what? There was a game the next night. And if that teammate is open, even though you just were throwing down yesterday, the guy's going to get the ball. And NBA players do have a way. Once the game starts, you kind of put it behind. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to like each other from that point forward. Maybe they didn't like each other before that. But you do find it possible to go out there with this common cause, of 12 guys suited up, us against them, and this mentality, this foxhole mentality that you have a lot of nights, it kicks in. The competition kicks in. And then again, the game's over. Doesn't mean you're going to dinner together, having drinks. You go your separate ways. You don't like each other very much. That happens all the time. But it's weird how you can compartmentalize that and still go out and compete.
Did you ever have a situation where a teammate was caught talking trash to another teammate? Like even there was overheard or something
where a conversation was recorded and it was someone was talking trash about another teammate. The conversation was recorded. It was relayed to the guy that was being talked about, and an altercation broke out. It's so long ago, I don't like necessarily getting into all the details of it. Okay, it's like over 30 years ago. But yeah,
an altercation.
And look, I'm sure there were other instances. Off the top of my head, I can't recall where guys get caught. The difference is back when I played, you either had to get it directly from some source that you talked to, who would then go talk to the other player, right? Or I'm trying to think. There was a situation where a player said something to another player in the press, in the media. I don't recall that necessarily happening. Coaches, I recall sometimes coaches saying stuff about players individually in the media, and it would kind of set off this chain reaction in the locker room a little bit. But now you don't even have to do that, man. You could just record somebody talking about somebody. It's like you're sitting in the airport sometimes. Now you're sitting in the airport, you're having a conversation, like a frank conversation about whatever, your personal life, work, whatever. And now you're like, looking around, like, does anybody recognize me? Are they videotaping me right now? It's, you know what I mean? It's kind of a weird way to live when you are, and I'm certainly not, super famous or anything like that, but these guys in the NBA, if you're a star player, what you go through on a daily basis and how recognizable you are. First of all, most of these guys are so tall, immediately your eyes are drawn to them. And now you go, oh, that's such and such. And now the camera comes out immediately. And it's just, it's tough, man. And that's why you give guys that are able to navigate the landmines their whole careers, man, give those guys a lot of credit, man, because that's not an easy thing to be able to do. And it's a lot of pressure just living your life in this world of technological advancement.
I wonder how many players have burner accounts on social media. I have to imagine it's more than half, to be honest with you. I mean, I cover the Denver Nuggets here, and I know I have a ton of burners in my mentions because I can always tell when it's like a player's relative or a player himself. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy doesn't like what I had to say, and here it is. It's a little too specific and personal here.
Wait, so you haven't picked up on my burner account going in on you? You haven't.
What a scandal! The All NBA show falls apart because of Legs' burner just hitting my mentions nonstop. You're in the comments, I think. You're one of the guys in the comments saying, I like Legs' takes. I don't like that other guy. Who's that other guy's takes? Let's go into our main topic here, though, because it's playoff matchups we want to see. And as I was putting a list together here, there are so many good potential playoff series that can happen this year, especially in the West. I think later rounds in the East. But in the West, I feel like every round is going to have drama, like real drama. So I made a list of ones that I most want to see. If at the end you can give me I'm guessing we'll have some overlap, but at the end you can give me one if I missed one. But I'm going to start with what I think, Legs, is actually my number one matchup of the entire playoffs that I hope we see, and that is Oklahoma City versus San Antonio. I think the only way we would see this is in a Western Conference Finals. So because obviously I think they're going to finish 1-2, maybe 1-3 in some order, but there's no way it's going to fall to 1-4. Those guys, none of those teams are falling to the 4. But there's narrative. They're both young teams. They're future faces of the league type teams. Wemby versus Chet. Wemby talking trash about the Thunder being vulnerable to them, having lost 3 out of 5 to them so far this year. There's so many storylines there, and I just think it would be a great series. The matchup between those teams is so fascinating. To me, it's the number one playoff matchup of all teams in the NBA that I would most want to see this year.
I probably would agree with that as being number one. I think I've got a close second that I would really be interested in, but I think I would put that number one. And here, you know why that's going to be fascinating if it gets to that point. And look, there's some teams are going to have a lot to say about that. But if that were the matchup you get, the fact that they're two great defensive teams, how physical that series could get if they let them play and what that would look like. Because San Antonio has some of the most physical perimeter defensive players in the NBA. And then you've got Wemby behind them as well as a back line. And then it's kind of similar to Oklahoma City. You've got Chet Holmgren on the back line. And then you've got all these perimeter guys that pressure the ball up the floor and fight over screens to a greater extent than anybody else. So I look at those two teams and what that could look like in a 7-game series, particularly with San Antonio having gotten them, 3 times in a row, really 4 out of 5 on the year, but the last one, Oklahoma City didn't have anybody dressed.
Right.
So that one doesn't even count, really. But they beat them 3 straight times. And Oklahoma City feeling like people are thinking, well, San Antonio's got their number. That would bring out the best in Oklahoma City, best in their defense. And those two teams, that could feel more like a playoff series from a previous generation a little bit, I think, with the level of defense and physicality we would see.
It also has staying power. Like, there's a real chance that that's a matchup we see for years down the road, and you want to kind of get the ball rolling on those types of things because we know that's how we remember, like, eras of the NBA when teams match up time and time again. Of course, we remember Warriors and Cavs, Lakers and Celtics. There's these big-time Lakers and Spurs. There's these big-time recurring ones, and it would be great to get the ball rolling on that. I just don't see it happening unless it's in a conference finals, but at the moment, it's like the odds-on favorite to come out. It's just the West is so loaded. We'll have to see how it plays out. The next one I have, this might not – let me go to yours. I'm curious what your number 2 was.
I think so. I was torn between 2 of them in the Eastern Conference. So I'll pick one. I will go with Detroit, New York.
Yep, that's what I had. So I'm glad we both had this as the next one up.
And I know, listen, the Pistons smoked them 2 times in a row. Like I think the point differential in the last 2 times they played was close to 60. So the Knicks weren't competitive with them, but my mind is going back to what I saw last year in the postseason. That was one of my favorite series of the entire postseason, what the Knicks and Pistons gave you. And, of course, the Pistons, super young team, getting their first taste of it. There wasn't quite enough to win some of those close games. There was some controversy at the end of games, particularly the game with Tim Hardaway Jr., was really fouled on a 3-point shot. That there was no call made. The Knicks get that road win. It was a huge turning point in that series. Wild swings and comebacks in that series, and they don't like each other very much. And that I think you just made the point about like Wemby and some of the things he has said and creating this sort of animus with OKC. You need a taste of that. Mm-hmm. You need a little flavor of that, right? 2 really good teams with a bunch of nice dudes, and they don't really dislike each other. That's great. It could be fun and entertaining, but you throw in a little bit of the extra stuff, a little bit of spice. Now you've got something special. I think Detroit, New York could potentially give us that.
And they have a little history already, so you get another one, and it's like, all right, we're building a narrative here. Yes. We're going year after year, and you could see these 2 teams also having staying power, maybe matching up again next year, which I like. But then there's also the narrative, and I already see it in the chat, and I really saw it when we did our contender tiers on our Friday show in the chat. Pistons fans were not happy that if you put the Knicks over Detroit in terms of who do you think is most likely to come out of the East, they really don't like it. So this opportunity for Detroit to answer that one once and for all for this year and to handle that series to me would be so big. And like San Antonio beating Oklahoma City would feel like a coming out party of like, hey, now we're the top dog. Detroit doing that to New York more so than the other teams, maybe Boston if they get their full squad back. I mean, Boston's so hard to project right now because we don't know if they're going to get Tatum back or not. But putting that aside, if they get the Knicks, to me, that's the incumbent. That feels like the incumbent team in the Eastern Conference. You get them, it's like, hey, we are the top dogs now. That would be such a statement one for Cade and for the Pistons.
Yeah, and I think for the Knicks, there might be another like rivaled series before you would get to that point if you got there with the Celtics, because those two teams, the cities don't like each other. Yeah. Anytime you get New York, Boston, it's great. If you get Jason Tatum back injected into that with enough time where he's really looking good and a factor in that series, and now you get Celtics Knicks potentially in the second round, that also could be incredibly compelling.
Yeah. All right, let's go to my next one here. This one's a personal one. But Nuggets Wolves also has history. These 2 teams
you and I are very much aligned. These are the 3 series I had too. I want to see it again, man. Yeah. I want to see it again.
There's bad blood, there's history, there's Tim Conley, and you've got now John Wallace, the GM of the Denver Nuggets, comes from Minnesota. You've got Chris Finch and Mike Inori. So there's enough crossover, but then they're just division rivals, man. And Minnesota, to me, presents the exact challenge Denver had not been able to overcome over the last couple of years, which is the physicality against Jamal Murray specifically. They have so many defenders, and it's why on our Monday show when I talked about most interesting players the rest of the way, I had Ayo Dosunmu on there. And one of the reasons is what makes Minnesota a team I believe in, and I do believe in the Timberwolves, despite the fact that they can't seem to string together like 2 consecutive weeks of good play. What makes me believe in them is they have so many perimeter defenders that can be physical, and adding Dosunmu gives them another one. And I look at that and say, when Denver has stumbled in playoff series, it's because you get physical with Jamal Murray, wear him down, and he does not become a second star alongside Nikola Jokic for Denver. That series, to me, represents that. And then on the other side, Minnesota has been knocking at the door. Western Conference Finals, trying to get over the hump. You get that matchup again in the playoffs. Denver beat them in 2023. Minnesota beat Denver in 2024. It would feel like a rubber match, and it would just be there's bad blood, there's animosity. It would be a great series.
Yeah, I want to see it again. Run it back. I still, go back to the 7-gamer in Minnesota and what they did to come back in that. It seems like it's teed up and set up for them. There's a lot of incredible star talent for those 2 teams to get together, and then there's their history, man. So the history makes it when you've already had a little taste of it and what that's like. And the more you see teams in the postseason in a short period of time, the more you dislike each other. So, yeah, I'm with you. That was my third one as well.
I think the last ones I have a bunch here, but these ones more are like fun. I mean, those three are the three that I'm like, I want to see those series. The rest of these get kind of interesting, and I'll go through my list here one at a time, and then at the end you can give me any others you have. This one would be fun, and we might get it, but probably not. I'd love to see Suns Rockets. There's enough of a storyline there. If we get the Suns, KD's old team, Dylan Brooks' old team, there's like that narrative. Those teams clearly don't like each other. If you were able to get that for actual stakes somehow, I think it would make for some pretty compelling drama. It would it's most likely if it happens, it would have to be the Rockets falling down into the play-in, but you never know what happens.
I don't know, man. Think about this. The Phoenix Suns are sitting here at 7. I like this one, by the way, too, just because the KD component playing against the Suns would be amazing.
The stakes for him personally would be
amazing if that were to happen. But you look at the way that the Suns have turned this around.
Yeah.
And look, Phoenix won their share of games the last few years, but nobody was really looking at that product and saying, yeah, this is somebody you got to take seriously. And it's weird because you might not think the Phoenix Suns are a contender, but it's like you have more admiration for this team and this franchise and what they've done and Jordan Ott and the job he's done. But here's the thing, Adam, they're only a game and a half out of the 5 spot.
Yeah,
and if you got to the 5 spot, who's 4? Houston.
You're right.
So, look, you're not talking something that's just over sensationalized, because you got the Lakers and Minnesota in between. Now, do you expect the Phoenix Suns to get all the way to 5? No, but we're not talking about 5-6 games here. You're talking about a game and a half and 2 games in the loss column to the Lakers for the 5 spot.
Yeah.
That's how good this story has been around Phoenix. And if you were to get a first round matchup with Kevin Durant and Houston Rockets playing against this Phoenix Suns team, which has gone back to like Devin Booker driving the offense, and then can you imagine a series where you get Dylan Brooks and Kevin Durant? Like, a series of that with Brooks, the year he's had offensively, how much he likes to talk, how physically he wants to get with those kind of guys. That would be amazing, man.
The stakes would just be incredible. I mean, we're talking 3 techs per game in that series. I just think there'd be 3 technical fouls on average. The stakes from a narrative perspective would be incredible, and I think it'd be good hoops. Like, when guys, that everybody dials it up as high as they can dial it up, but when there's emotion involved, you just have the ability to dial it up even more, and I think there would be in that one. Here's another wild one. I don't think we'll get. Oh, we might get it. Kawhi's playing incredible right now. We'll probably get to the Clippers here later on when we talk about playing teams that might have a chance to make some noise. But what if we got a Clippers-Spurs matchup? You got the young Spurs, haven't really been here before, and you got Kawhi Leonard against his old team. Kawhi's playing so well right now that I just watch it and go, who knows, man? Could be interesting.
The only thing I'll say about that is I feel like it's now so far removed from Kawhi Leonard.
That's true.
Right? As a Spur.
Yeah. It's true.
Think about how long ago that was when they went through all that drama with him where he wasn't playing, he was hurt, and he wasn't even with the team. He was rehabbing back east and wasn't around. And then he wants out. They ship him off. He goes to Toronto, wins a championship. I mean, it feels so far removed since that time that I don't know that would still be like hanging in the air. Like and he's not a guy. First of all, we talk about like these series that give you more because guys talk. Well, he doesn't say anything. Kawhi Leonard doesn't speak. So I don't think he generates that sort of vitriol coming his direction.
I think you're probably right. This is like, I don't have Houston OKC, and you could make the same point, KD going back to Oklahoma City, but it's been so long that I don't know if the narrative is there. How about Warriors Thunder? I just think that it's hard to make one with the Thunder because I think the Thunder are going to beat a lot of the teams like this, but the Warriors are a team that can be a little bit interesting, and there is something to beating the team of the previous era. So I think that would be a fun series if nothing else. The Warriors are just such a unique challenge.
I got one more in the East if I can touch on. How about Philly, Boston?
Oh, man.
Because there's not great rivalries necessarily Eastern Conference, but I mean, there's still something there with Philadelphia and Boston. And that's not out of the question either. Philadelphia's sitting there right now. They're 6th. Boston is a half game up on the Knicks, or they're in 3rd. That's potentially a 3-6 first round matchup. Philly, Boston, with a Philly team that if they can somehow figure out a way to start, April 15th with Joel Embiid continuing to now look, he missed the last 2 games before the break. We had some swelling, so that's a little concerning. But he was really starting to ramp up his production. His lift was coming back. His defensive presence starting to come back. If you get and then Paul George will be rejoining the team, assuming right before the playoffs. You get Philadelphia as a 6, the way they have looked some nights against a Boston as a 3 seed, that could be, and Tatum coming back at that time potentially. Man, that would have a lot. That would have a lot there. And there's not a ton of history with different teams in the Eastern Conference, but I think there is some still there for Boston and Philly.
Well, certainly among the fan bases, and sometimes that's what makes it. I mean, we didn't even mention this with Detroit, New York, but I think there's a little bit of that there as well. But Boston versus Philly, and I just like this idea. Like I keep saying I can't quit the Sixers, even though they make me try to quit on them. I can't quit them, but that would be the ultimate test. If you get that in a first-round matchup and say, okay, let's see if you can do this against a very tough-minded Boston team who knows who they are, I think that would make for a great one. The only other one I had was Nuggets Thunder. And again, there's a little bit of my hometown bias coming, but last year's series was a fantastic series. And I think that, the Thunder are the best team in the NBA. San Antonio, Denver, there's a couple teams vying for that second best team in the NBA. I just want to see those teams match up. So I think San Antonio versus Oklahoma City, if I step outside of my own personal bias wanting to cover a finals, if I step outside of that, I think San Antonio OKC has more drama. But Denver OKC to me has a lot of drama as well. And I just would love to see that rematch.
Well, I'll tell you, with this path this year for the Thunder to try to repeat when you've got teams like San Antonio, Denver, and I've said, I think Denver represents the biggest threat to Oklahoma City to come out of the West. I still believe that. They had so many guys out for such long periods of time. We really haven't seen exactly what Denver can be with continuity with all of their top 10. We're going to see that here, I think, down the stretch. So, but look, San Antonio is pretty special as well. So Oklahoma City, is going to have to repeat. They're going to have to beat, one or both. And that's going to be very difficult to do.
All right, let's take our first break. On the other side, we're going to have some fun. You guys know we like to draft our guys, like role players we're buying stock in early. Well, it's mid-season. We're going to have to head to the trade deadline and make some trades. Maybe we missed a couple picks early on, so we're going to do that on the other side, as well as look at teams in the play-in who might be able to make some noise. FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win in the championship or a conference title. Visit FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. I like this promo. It's a neat one. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite pair of sunglasses at the beach, on the roof of your car, or at a gas station 3 states away? Well, I've been there, but I found Shady Rays. You can see me, I'm tan. I just came back from vacation. 2 pairs of Shady Rays. Didn't lose either of them or break any of them, but they were my godsend on my little trip there. They've changed the game, though, because they're sunglasses that are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. But the wild part is, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements, so you can wear your sunglasses without fear. On vacation, at concerts, hikes, on a boat, wherever. I was on a boat this weekend, man. It was great. It's been a while since I've been on a boat. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. If you guys are enjoying the show, do us a favor and hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed. If you're jonesing for real hoops, everybody's talking about the All-Star game and taking a little break right now. We've got shows from Monday and Friday where we're talking and setting the stage for what's about to come. And then, of course, we're going to have Legs and I back on Friday. There's a great Thursday slate of games, so we're going to be back this Friday talking about those games. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed. So, Legs, we always draft our guys. You know, I've picked some really good ones over the years, Legs. I gotta say, man, I have some guys.
Hey, if you want to guarantee you get flowers, you send them to yourself.
That's exactly right. I'm gonna send myself some flowers right now. AJ Mitchell, shout out, making me look good over here.
That's it.
But I also have some duds. You know, you don't hit on all of them. Even the best scouts miss from time to time. So this is our chance mid-season to go to the waiver wire, drop a player, add a player, maybe drop 2 players, add a player. Whatever you want. I'll let you go first since I kind of have a sneaky suspicion we're both going to go after this one guy I have my eyes on, but I'll let you go first just to see.
I don't know about that, man. I don't think
not.
so. I usually pretty good at sensing if we're thinking along the same lines, and I don't think we're going to go with the same player. I'd be surprised.
Okay.
All right, so you want me to drop first or add?
First drop. Who are you giving up on? Who didn't work out for you?
I'm a little disappointed in Yves Missi.
Okay, Yves Missi, yeah.
And here's the thing. I still think he's going to be a serviceable player, but look, his production is about half what it was a year ago. And I just think that the way the league is gone, guys that don't have the ability to extend their game offensively, it just becomes harder and harder for them. And I think that's the case with Missi. I still think he's a good player. He plays hard. And look, he's only 2 years in, so maybe he still has a very good career, or he has a situation where he ends up getting a lot more playing time, more run, more touches. But I just thought he was going to have a bigger year. I really liked what I saw out of him second half of last year. Hasn't really happened for him this year. 47 games. He's down to 5.6 points. He was 9 point something last year, so it's almost half, cut in half his scoring average on a team that's not winning games. So there's opportunities there, and he hasn't been able to jump on that. And then the guy I'd pick up is going to be Caleb Love.
Okay, I like it. You're right.
You didn't have him, right?
I did not have him.
I'm very impressed, and I loved him in college. But you never know when you get to an NBA situation. How long is it going to take for a legitimate opportunity to arise? I love this guy's done 45 games for them, 11 points a game. He just looks like a polished NBA guard. He's a combo. So he can play off the ball and score and just get into that mentality. He can also put the ball in his hands a little bit and initiate. I'm really, really excited about his future. He's 24 years old, so it took a little bit longer, like his path to get to this point. But I think Portland's got a player. I think Caleb Love's going to be good to go for a long time.
I think some of these older guys, sometimes it works out, like that's part of it is the NBA. If one, you're extending guys' career later and later. And then 2, the game is getting more, high IQ. So sometimes guys can use a little seasoning. Like I think it's the market inefficiency in the NBA right now is that you can go after some of these older guys because why not? And then on top of that, with how much players get traded or move around, you might only be drafting for 1 or 2 years anyway. So why not go for it? All right, you didn't take my guy though. I'm very, very thankful. By the way, real quick with Caleb Love, what do you project him to be? Like, what have you seen from him? Do you project him to be like a solid role player? Is he more to that? What do you see?
Yeah, I think he's a solid third guard. And I don't know that he's going to necessarily be good enough initiator, playmaker, creator to be a starter on a good team at point guard. And I don't know that he shoots it well enough and consistently enough to be that full-time starter as your off guard. But as a combo guy that can come in and he's got some burst and he's got some ability to score, I like his future in that role where he can come in, play a little bit of both. He's got to shoot the ball better than he has to this point. That's the only thing. He's not super efficient yet, but this is his first taste of NBA action. 39% from the field, 32% from the three. Those numbers have to come up. Get your field goal percentage up to at least approaching 45%, get your 3-point percentage up into that 37-38 range. It's going to change a lot of things for him.
All right, the guy I'm dropping, and I'm only making one swap. I like my team. I like some of the things I'm seeing from my guys, but there's one guy that let me down this year, and that's Kyle Filipowski. Now, I will say I was taking a shot on him in part because I knew Utah would be tanking this year. I saw minutes for him. And early on, he was playing real minutes, starting even, and I thought playing pretty well. They had that really interesting lineup, but they've gone away from him for a lot of reasons. I still like his passing, his outside shot, but it just looks like his defense, and there's just something the team doesn't seem to believe in. So he's not – I don't know that he's going to be part of their long-term investment and get those minutes. So I'm dropping him, but I love who I'm adding. I'm taking Colin Gillespie. Only reason I wasn't going to take him was maybe he's too good. Has he become too good starting and being a key piece of this Phoenix Suns? I wrestled with that for a little bit, but you know what? I still think he's just a solid role player, and I don't think this is a fluke where he found a team that just so happens to work for him. His problem is that he's tiny. He's little. He doesn't have these measurables, this long wingspan or anything like that. And when we talk about young prospects, it's all about, but what can he grow into? What he is a super high IQ player who can shoot. He can guard his, team defense, can do his thing. And then he just has elite feel for the game and is a great floor general, a throwback point guard. I think that he is going to have a 10-year career in the NBA despite his lack of physical attributes.
It's kind of crazy because you're sitting there and it feels like, okay, Colin Gillespie, just came into the league this year. Right. So Colin Gillespie's been around for a little bit.
Came through Denver.
He's been around for a little bit. He played in Denver first. He had some time with Phoenix a year ago. So here's why I say that. He's obviously having this incredible breakout year. He's a very strong candidate for most improved player in the league. 13 points a game, 4.5 assists. He's starting. He's on the court in fourth quarters to decide games. He's actually very competitive defensively despite his size because he's got very quick hands and he's really good at raking and stuff and timing it up when to strip guys as they try to shoot over the top of him on pull-ups. So he makes up for lack of size with other attributes defensively. Here's the thing. He's 26 years old. He's been around, man, and that's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome. But, people, I think this guy just came out of Villanova last year, and now he's in the NBA doing these things. This guy's been around, and he finally just took major breakthrough in Phoenix this year, and he's able to do it. And it's a great one. There's one other guy.
Hold on, real quick before you move on. I just want to ask one thing about Colin Gillespie because I covered him here in Denver. He is very charismatic, and what I mean by that is all the teammates loved him. He was a very sociable guy, and I think for a point guard, I'm curious what you think about this. I think your point guard has to have that. As weird as that sounds, your point guard is your floor general, your floor leader. And I wonder if a point guard, maybe you disagree with this, but I think it's harder for a point guard to not be liked and to be a bit of a recluse and not know how to talk to guys. Whereas if you're a guy that everybody in the locker room feels like you're his buddy, that's part of the job in a weird way.
No, I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. I think it's similar to playing quarterback in the NFL. I've seen guys that had all massive talent in the NFL and they just didn't have the rapport with teammates. They didn't know, what leadership looked like and what that was going to mean to galvanize a locker room and galvanize a roster and get guys to want to fight for you. I think Colin Gillespie, it comes naturally to him. He's a guy that has had more belief in himself than probably a lot of people have had in him his entire life. And he's just used to that feeling. He's certain of how this was going to work out. I've seen some interviews with him where basically none of this is surprising Colin Gillespie. He basically said, no, even when I was playing the G League or wherever, I think he might have even been overseas at one point. I knew how this was going to turn out. I never doubted it for a second. And there's something to be said for that, man. And I think guys at the NBA level, when you walk into the locker room and they're kind of looking at you and they don't know what you're about, you got to go out there and prove it every day. There's something about guys that have gone a different path that make it, the amount of resilience that you have to have, the amount of just belief you have to have and how you overcome adversity. Guys in the locker room respect that so much that you've won them over. Now you just have to prove that you can actually play and hang and you're going to help the team. And once you do that, when you combine it with the story and your path, it's amazing how much more respect guys like that actually get sometimes than even guys that were drafted by the team and are playing well. When you take that route, man, and how hard that is to keep fighting, when you're being told that it's not quite good enough, you're not quite good enough, you're not quite big enough, you're not quite quick enough, you don't quite shoot it well enough. And you hear this along the way, and you just keep coming back, showing up every day, and eventually breaking through. Guys really respect that. So I agree with you. I think he's going to have longer than a 10-year career. I think he's going to be in the league as long as he wants, and he's a winner, man. He just knows how to play. And there's so can I real quick give one more shout out to another 26-year-old?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's been around. He's played about twice as many career NBA games as Colin Gillespie, but he's not had a year like this yet. And that is Sandro Mamukelashvili.
Oh man, he's
Toronto.
I was gonna say he's my guy.
This guy's legit, man. He's a major factor for Toronto.
Yeah.
23 minutes a night. And you know what a big part of it has been for him? He's gotten his 3-point percentage up now, where he's such a threat. He has bought into the modern game and what offenses are calling for. Because in college, he was mostly a post-up player, getting to that left hand, or he was pretty good at taking you off the drive on a closeout, like going hard to his left hand, getting to the line. I actually coached a kid in AAU, my best player, a kid named Miles Kale, who started for 3 years at Seton Hall and played with him. So I saw Mamuk a lot in college, and his game didn't look like it does now.
Really?
He's transformed himself into a perimeter-based stretch four. And he always played so hard. It jumped out to you how hard he plays, and he's physical, and he wants it. But you're like, okay, but he doesn't have the athletic ability to go inside in the NBA and score on guys. So he transformed his game to figure it out. And now he's shooting 38% from the three this year, 61 games with the Spurs last year, 37%. So this isn't a fluke. Another guy that's going to be around for a long time now. He's made himself some money this year, like Colin Gillespie, and these are great stories.
I love it. So that's your next guy you're taking?
Yes.
Is him? All right.
And I'm going to drop, although I don't want, you know what, no, forget it. I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to drop my second player. I'm just going to add Mamuk to my team because I'm not giving up on Johnny Furphy. He had a horrible injury this year, and I still believe in the guy, right, man. I think Johnny Furphy's good, so I'm not letting him go yet. I'm just going to cheat the system, and I'm going to add 2 and drop 1.
Everybody see how this works. And would you save this clip, Atticus? Because I know we're going to come back to it here in 3 months' time. Everybody says Adam takes all the guys. It's legs. It's always legs. He's taking all the guys. Real quick, we have a breaking news from Shams Charania that happened just while we were talking here, and that is that Franz Wagner, the Orlando Magic, will be sidelined indefinitely after a recent test showed that he required additional time and rehabilitation for that left high ankle sprain. This is brutal because we're segueing now into play-in teams that we think could win a round and maybe even make a deep playoff run. And I'll tell you, I had to squint because there's not a lot of teams that I have any faith in doing that. But they were one. And the whole point I was going to bring up, my notes say, you get everybody healthy, you get Franz back, and who knows, we haven't been able to see this team healthy. Well, the news dropped right before we did this segment that says he needs more time. Your reaction to hearing this news?
Well, I just think about those 2 star players for Orlando and how difficult this has been for them. And you looked at them, a couple years ago, and you're like, man, they were the only team in the league 2 years ago whose top 2 scorers were 6'10" and up. Okay, and they did it with versatility. They can both handle the ball. They can both shoot the ball. And it was weird, like, to go about their offense in that way, because usually it's like 1 big and 1 guard. Some teams it was 2 guards that were doing the majority of your creation. This was 2 6'10" forwards with great versatility. And you're like, man, all that size, and now you add some shooting around them, and they were a great defensive team. Sky's the limit. And ever since then, when we started to believe that, they've had an impossible journey to stay on the court together. And now this is just going to add to that. So you're right. This is really bad news for them. And it makes, I think, the play-in situation potentially even more interesting if Franz Wagner is potentially sidelined the rest of the year, doesn't play. I think it gives a little bit more hope to some teams that they can get out of the play-in potentially.
That's really tough, man. I'm crossing them off my list. I cannot see them making a splash. I mean, maybe he comes back at the very end of the year, but now you're just talking about, okay, they're almost certainly a play-in team, 7-8, got to go up against one of those top teams. I just don't see it, man. And to your point, it's bigger than just this year. this has been the story of this era for the Magic. We have not been able to see them get off the runway, and that's just brutal news. All right, so play-in teams. You said you had 2. I have 0. I have some teams I can talk about, but I have 0 teams that I see winning in the first round, coming through the play-in and then beating a top 2 seed. But you had 2, so let me hear it.
Well, no, to be clear, like we didn't kind of go into a lot of context about this conversation, you and I, before the show.
Sure.
I'm not saying I really think that these teams could necessarily win around or make a deep run. What I'm saying is I think they've now become very compelling, and I think they're going to give somebody fits.
Okay.
In the first round, and who knows what that could turn into. In the Eastern Conference, it's pretty easy for me. It's Charlotte.
Really?
You look at Charlotte, and I think what they were able to do prior to the break, winning 9 out of 10 games. Of course, they had this situation with the Pistons. They got into that brawl. Guys got suspended, which actually now you look at the situation you just said with Wagner. You're looking at the Orlando Magic, who are at 7. Right, the Charlotte Hornets are sitting here. They're only
3 games,
3 games back of them. And the way they're playing, if they continue that momentum out of the break, and they're able to continue to keep winning, I don't think that's out of the question.
Man, this would be interesting.
They go up there and give themselves a legitimate shot to get out of the play-in and get into a first-round series, and maybe that means the 8 spot. And if that's the 8 spot, you could have the Detroit Pistons in the first round in a best of 7. So for me, this isn't just like, okay, it's kind of fun. They've won some games. Every team in the NBA is going to have some winning streak at some point. It's more than that. There's a lot of talent there, and it's starting to click, and they're looking each other in the eye, and they're starting to believe. They're starting to believe that their talent is enough on most nights. And Knippel's obviously been an incredible pickup for them. Miller is a guy that can fill it up. So they've had these high picks, and they're finally starting to look at each other and go, hey, why not now? And that's why, for me, they're one of the most interesting teams from this point forward the rest of the year. I want to see what they do in their first 4 or 5 games back after the break, because it's a young team. Who knows what they did over All-Star Weekend? You got to come, or All-Star Week, really now. You got to come back out of that and show that this is legit. And go Houston, Cleveland, Washington, Chicago, Indiana, Portland. Those are very winnable games. If you can get Houston, Cleveland, get both of those games, and they're both at home.
Man, you might streak. You're right.
Okay, then you've got those next 4. If you show up at the right frame of mind in those 2 games, you win those, and then you got those next 4. I mean, you might be looking at a situation where they've got 15 out of 16. And now you're going, wow, man, this is one of the best stories in the league. So I can't wait to see what Charlotte has in store the rest of the way.
They're legitimately, I've said, they're my favorite team to watch right now at this point of the season, because they're so fun offensively, and it's not fluky what they do. They have a great system and some great players that make them very difficult to guard. And pieces, by the way, that fit. It's not just that they have shooters and the bigs don't do anything. No, they have pieces that the bigs stretch your bigs out, and then they crash the boards, and so they kill you that inside out. It's really fun to watch. Is there a better style matchup between the Pistons and the Hornets? I mean, you're talking about great offense, great defense, and then this stoic, tough, mean Pistons team, and this kind of wild boy mentality of the Hornets. What a clash of styles that matchup would be.
A lot of talking, and you'd have the Pistons. You're right. Their defense trying to corral this freewheeling, let it fly offense that can really do serious damage. I think the last bad game they had offensively was the game we called. We went down to Charlotte to see them play Cleveland.
That's
right.
At
that time they were kind of getting hot. We were like, oh, really excited, man. They made it to the national TV schedule. We're going to go do this game. And they had 30 points in the first half or something. And then right after that, they were scoring 130 a night for the next 5. So we just caught them on a bad night. It is what it is. I am really intrigued by what they've got in store over the last 27 games.
You surprised me, because yes, I'm still sleeping on them. Even though they've been playing great, as you mentioned, 9 out of the last 10, they're playing great, but I'm still sleeping on them. So we'll see what they do here in this stretch, and then I'll start to be on my radar. All right, what's the other team?
It's Phoenix in the West. We talked about them a little bit here with Gillespie, and just the way that their entire approach has changed. I have so much respect for that team. And there's a little different situation. Even for Charlotte, who's getting hot now, you're still 4.5 games out of escaping the play-in. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are right on the brink of the 5 spot, and in the West, it's incredible. And I think they're a team that could give some teams a scary long series because of how well connected they are on both ends of the floor. They've got they brought in some guys that gave them a toughness increase. I think Phoenix going against anybody in the Western Conference in the top 4 or 5 teams would be really interesting, intriguing, potentially a longer series.
I threw the Suns fans a bone earlier because I do love Gillespie and I like their team. Here's my take on Phoenix, and I know Suns fans won't love it. They win a lot of margins that I just don't think they're going to win in the postseason. I mean, they execute. You could win a lot of games with great execution and connectedness. In the playoffs, every team ups their execution a level by quite a bit, and I don't know that they're going to have that gear to go up to. I think they've been playing closer to that gear all year long, and that's why I just have a hard time imagining them beating the Oklahoma City Thunder in particular, or the San Antonio Spurs or Denver or one of those teams that are at the top. So if they do what you said, which is sneak into like the 4, 5, 6, I could see it. But if they have to go up against Oklahoma City, I just cannot see them being competitive with them. Let us know.
Well, they might change your mind. They come to Denver on Sunday, March 1st for an ABC afternoon game, man. Maybe they'll change your mind.
Maybe they will, man. We'll have to wait and find out. Suns fans will remind me. I guarantee you they'll remind me if that's how it goes. I think Suns and 4 guy will pop back into the chat just to remind me of that as well. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let's end with our fan duels of the night, where we look ahead because we haven't had basketball for a week. We're jonesing for it. So let's look at what you're going to be back on the show Friday. You and I are going to be talking about this Friday. We got Hawks, Sixers. Might be that. I mean, that's an interesting one, I think. Let's see, Nets, Cavs, Rockets, Hornets. Yes, I think that game will be very interesting. Pacers, Wizards, Pistons, Knicks. That's going to be the game, I would say almost for sure. We're going to be talking about that one. Raptors, Bulls, Suns at Spurs. I think that's a very compelling game. Magic, Kings, Celtics, Warriors. I'm into that one. Boston favored by 3. Nuggets, Clippers should be a great game. Jazz, Grizzlies, Mavs, Wolves, Bucks, Pels. What sticks out to you there?
Well, I want to put that up again, just because we want to make sure the viewers are aware. We got to correct one thing. That's not Wednesday. That's going to be Thursday. There are no games.
Yeah, that's Thursday.
No, just I only said that because I don't want people to get all excited that these games are on tonight. And you go home and you're trying to find them and they're not on. So this is going to be tomorrow night. Another night for the break here. Rockets, Hornets. I mean, there you go. We just talked about the Hornets. That has all kinds of intrigue there. Pistons, Knicks. The Knicks have to have a game which they show up against the Pistons. They have manhandled them, so I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah. Cue that outro music for us, Atticus. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hey, this is where our show really begins to peak, in my opinion, when the games get more interesting as we ramp up to the playoffs, and then, of course, into the playoffs when we're breaking down the actual games. Legs, it's great to have you back, and I can't wait for Friday's show when we get back into games. I missed the game. I don't know about you, Legs. Man. I miss it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to just get better and better from this point on.
I was a little sick of the game. I'm not going to lie, a week ago. But you know what? I went to the beach. I got a little sun.
Happens,
and I'm back.
It happens, man. It happens. You got to get away from it sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely do. Throw us a like. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you guys are thinking. And make sure you're subscribed. We're back Friday. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.